When I began thinking about presiding at Mass in an empty church, I thought of a line from a song for some a long, long time ago, a Beatles song. The name of the song, Eleanor Rigby. And there's a line in that song that says, Father Mackenzie, writing the words of a sermon that no one will hear. No one comes near. Well, maybe no one comes near because of social distancing. No one comes near because of the mandates by our state and federal government for a time. But I do appreciate the fact that you will hear today's sermon. I was reflecting on the scriptures for this weekend in this state where we're affected in so many ways by the coronavirus, the talk of it, the concerns we have, the mandates that are coming our way, the questions, the anxiety. But there's the words of St. Paul to the people of Ephesus, the words of St. Paul to us, where we find ourselves today. Those are the ones that got my attention. The words that said, love as children of the light. For light produces every kind of goodness and righteousness and truth. With all of us, to quote the Pope, cooped up in our homes, whether we're alone or with family. The question is, how can we be the light of Christ? And as I was walking by the chapel this morning, my eye caught the light in the tabernacle, near the tabernacle, the sanctuary light, as it's called. That reminder to us that Christ is present in the Eucharist, Christ our light. But amidst of all of this, how can we be the light of Christ? How can the light of Christ come into our life? How can we light up, in the name of Christ, the life of our family? How can we light up the light of Christ in the life of others? You know, that computer, that iPad, that smartphone, even that landline is a gift from God. Not just to be used for some gaming. I understand that in the last week or so, gaming online went up 75%. Would that my collections would go up 75%. Gifts from God. The fact that we're able to live stream the Mass to you today is something that, is beyond our thinking years and years ago. But it gives us the ability to keep in touch. Because they're all gifts to us that help us reach out to one another, to bring some light, the light of joy, the light of comfort, the light of company, the light of love, not only to those we're with at this time, but also with those people we're unable to be with for a time, for a while. You've probably seen it on TV, the gentleman who would visit his wife every day in the nursing home. And then nursing homes were closed. And so what did he do? He still went to the nursing home, but he sat outside the window and just sat there, pressed hand to hand at the window. How do we reach out to others? How can we during these days ahead? This past week, I received a card from a parishioner who watches us every week through live streaming. And in their note to me, their card to me, they said, "Viewing the Mass is a gift to us that brings peace to us." And then they added, "P.S. I was going to email you, but I took your advice from last week's homily and decided to send a note to you instead." And then there was this email from someone who views us 10,000 miles away, that'd be Singapore, who ended their email to me, "Keep washing your hands." A sentiment that was reflected in another conversation I had with people who live in Kingston, New York. The woman who said to me, shared with me, the wisdom of her Italian grandmother, who used to say to their grandchildren before dinner, "Go wash your hands." And when they came back, she'd say to them, "Now, go back and wash your hands, this time with soap and hot water." You know, we all know the famous quote of Corinthians 13:13. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And there's no doubt that love is the greatest. But just maybe right now, we need a big, big, big dose of hope. And so I'd like to end my homily this morning, my sermon, keeping up with the words of Father Mackenzie. I'd like to share a poem with you, a poem about the coronavirus. A poem that was written by Brother Hendrick, who's a Capuchin Franciscan monk living in Ireland. The poem is entitled Hope. Lockdown. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there's panic buying. Yes, there's sickness. Yes, there's even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, they can hear the birds again. They say that just after a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and gray and clear. They say that the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the homebound. today. A young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number throughout the neighborhood so that elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are welcoming and sheltering the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbors in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what matters, to love. So we pray, and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there's even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how you live now. Today, breathe. Listen behind the factory noises of your panic. The birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is here. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul. And though you may not be able to touch across the empty square,